design is not morally right or wrong. It's if it can communicate an idea to a larger number of people without spoiling the idea, then I think it's good design. I think one of the things The Face did was it understood that the street was glamorous. The street wasn't just sort of angry and dirty and punk. Yeah. And in turn, the rise of that magazine started to make the conventional fashion magazines like Vogue suddenly start paying attention to the street. I mean, there'd been a little bit of that with Twiggy because she was from the East End of London, but it was really all about just pulling things off the street, putting them through the sort of the glossy process, and then coming out the other end with a $1,000 dress. Punk rock had been this style explosion. I mean, it was fantastically glamorous. I remember seeing Malcolm and Johnny Rotten before I knew either of them, and I mean, you'd never seen anything like it. They were wearing these clothes that were ripped, but so beautifully organized and so beautifully designed. Vivian had designed them, and cars were stopping. People were sort of forming crowds around them, and you saw that for them that was part of the arsenal, that you kind of shocked and awed with the use of style. But if you come at a larger audience and an American audience with a kind of a fuck you, they're going to turn around and say, well, I'm not paying $2 to listen to that. I think it's the same reason why the Sex Pistols never worked here. The performative aspect of hostility is kind of something the English relish, and I think the Americans take more literally and actually put off by. The things that I grew up with, particularly magazines, need to become more expensive. They need to become, they're not going to have that mainstream sort of news breaking or news gathering function they had. They're going to be luxury objects, probably more like coffee table books. I don't know. Media's in a very, very interesting phase. I remember years ago actually how people would say, well, in the future technology is going to become invisible. I even remember fashion designers would sort of sew microprocessors into the lapels of jackets with some unforeseen future consequence of being wired and connected, and so media was announcing the disappearance of technology, and sort of what's happening is that technology is announcing the disappearance of media. It's a sort of an inverse. When I say the disappearance of media, I mean that when just the very word media, that is something that intermediates, that mediates between an institution and the public, or an event and a reader, or whatever. That role seems to be sort of less and less useful and less needed. I mean, I'm starting to find, looking at news stories on the web, they seem to be becoming like the equivalent of those sort of weird financial instruments that brought down the banking system, the CDOs, where it's lots of sort of mortgages sliced up and put back together. So you read a story and it's got a little bit of New York Times reporting in it, perhaps a little bit of LA Times reporting, a little bit of gossip, and then a little bit of something that someone made up, and then you'll read a response to that underneath and by a blogger, and it might seem interesting, but you don't actually know if the blogger's been paid to write that because they work for Procter & Gamble, or if it's what they really think. So they are becoming like the slice and dice mortgages to me. A lot of the news reporting in media outlets, on the web in particular.